SomewhatNerdy Radio. We are your hosts. I am Snarf Chris.
I'm Critter. It's going to be a fun one.
This is going to be a good one. Mostly because me and Critter, this is our double feature podcast where we each pick a movie for the other nerd to watch, or both of us to watch. 9 times out of 10, it's movies we haven't seen. One of these movies I've seen a lot.
That's not true. Like, there's no real like thing that we do that makes sense of why we pick a movie.
No, not at all.
Because sometimes it's a movie I've never seen and it just looks interesting, but sometimes I'm like, I remember this movie, and I'm trying to do that. Like, yeah. I feel like I want someone to.
What was the Kung Fu movie? Not the Kung Fu movie.
Drive.
Yeah.
I like people to live my fever dreams. I'm like, did I imagine this?
Yeah.
You know?
One of these movies, Critters movie, which we'll talk about later in the podcast, is a movie I've seen a ton of times.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly because of HBO and Showtime. It was
early
HBO.
And
it was one of those channels.
If you remember, like, movie channels in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, they would just play random bullshit because that's all they could get the rights to.
So it's mostly like if you have kids and how they pick just 5 movies and they just replay them over and over again. That's how HBO and Showtime was back in the day.
But that's because it was like early Netflix when they played movies. You're like, that was a movie, and HBO did the same shit because it was the only thing they could get the rights to, and so they'd be like, all right, fine, we'll just fill it like that. This movie's gonna play 9 times in a day.
So before we get into everything, go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Leave us all the reviews, Spotify.
Tell your friends, anyone that listens to the podcast looking to fill some time. I mean, like, the people that like nerd shit, they'll probably enjoy it or hate it, whatever.
Literally the only time we ever get new listeners or anything like that is because people shared it on Twitter or Facebook or any of the other things. We're supposed to have a TikTok, but we haven't started yet.
Haven't started, mostly because we have it again.
Me and Critter have lives.
We have it's not. It's a bit that, but it's also a struggle to come up with content that's relevant and persistent. Beat an algorithm, and it's on
top of that,
it's a young man's game.
If you want to intern for us and make some TikTok videos with our podcast, feel free to contact us. Actually, I'm being very serious about that. So,
it's unpaid.
Yeah, it's 100% unpaid. We don't get paid.
It's not like we're holding out profits.
Look, we
won't pay you the same amount we pay ourselves. 0.
So I know 100% there's a certain amount of people that listen to this podcast and everything like that. It's we literally do this because we like hanging out with each other. These are the conversations me and Critter have when we're not recording podcasts, and it's really the reason to do is just because it's excuse to hang out with Critter mostly.
Yeah. And it's fun to talk about some of the more esoteric
just
nerd
weird
shit.
Things that, again, what we would be talking about normally.
Yeah.
So,
like, you guys remember this movie? People are like, holy shit, are you kidding me?
And it's also turned into certain things, just like quite a few podcasts ago, talking about the Never Hike Alone series and getting to talk to the director about that and meeting a bunch of new listeners because they found us because of that podcast. And this podcast right here, the Double Feature Podcast, is one of my favorite podcasts we do.
It started off under humble beginnings of... We first watched Meet the Feebles. If you haven't seen that movie, fucking do it and ruin your life.
Eventually, we're going to do a live stream where we just all watch it together. Was like any listener that dares himself to listen it.
So
watch it.
If you're an old-time fan, you know about Meet the Feebles and the Meet the Feebles challenge. It happened where I had rose-tinted glasses and I remembered Meet the Feebles as being this very cool, like, adult take on the Muppets. And then we rewatched it and it's like, oh, this is bad. It's Peter Jackson.
You know the crazy thing is
Peter Jackson?
Yeah, it is Peter Jackson. I like that movie now.
Of course you did.
I've watched it quite a few times now, and I kind of grow to appreciate it a little bit more.
You like the puppetry.
Yeah, I like the puppetry of it, the adult humor, the things he got away with. No, it's deprived as fuck. I mean, it's no redeeming qualities in the entire movie, character wise. But I enjoy the movie, and plus I just have a tie to it now just because of our podcast. Yeah. Like, I just want to enjoy it.
It's kind of like Peter Jackson should be our bro because we brought one of his more unknown properties. And by the way, I like Peter Jackson's more kind of unknown shit. I love Dead Alive.
Dead Alive or Frighteners.
Frighteners is probably so good.
Other than Lord of the Rings, Frighteners is, I think, it's like his best movie. So
I would dare say that Frighteners is one of the better ghost movies.
For sure. Yeah. And it's Michael J. Fox, and it's
just how they portrayed ghosts before
so good.
Ghosts were
so good.
And it's weird how fun it is for something so demonic.
Yeah, and scary. It's
scary.
It's got...
But then it's kind of goofy at the same time. You're like, how is it doing all of this?
And on top of that, Frighteners has Jeffrey Combs in it, which is in a movie that we're going to talk about tonight, Fortress. So, anyway, so we're going to start with my movie. The only reason we're going to start with mine. Mine came out in 1988, and it's called Crime Zone.
Welcome to the future. Welcome to the Crime Zone. A wasteland of weirdos, psychos, and freaks, where sex has become the greatest commodity, and it's controlled by the state.
Those are the rules.
What are you doing to the woman, subgrade?
Where your every desire
Show me your dick.
is a federal offense.
Is that your normal size?
Your best hope is the chance to escape
I have a little job I'd like to offer you.
and getting out.
Isn't that called robbery? That's right. That's exactly what it's called.
Just may cost you your life.
You pull the trigger if they get me.
Lured into a maze of deception where nothing is as it seems. And no one can be trusted.
I'm a recruiting officer.
Recruiting what?
Criminals. If you don't have criminals, you have to invent them. You guys are doing a remarkable job.
Now their worst fears
Go ahead, do it, bastard!
are about to come true. David Carradine, he's got a vision of the future. Crime Zone.
This stars literally nobody. Most of the people in this movie stop acting or kind of acted, but they're in bit parts later. And the noblest person is David Carradine, which was Kung Fu. Like, wasn't that his movie?
Yeah, it was
TV
his show.
TV show.
And Kill Bill.
Kill Bill. He's probably more famous because of the way he died.
The autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he came to death.
He did. Literally.
He came to terms with his own death, if you know what I mean.
And so to go ahead and give a quick synopsis of it, this is about a dystopian apocalyptic future about this town where sex and relationships are almost controlled by the government.
It's a big caste system.
Yeah, if you're in higher class, you're able to kind of do for what you want. If you're in lower class, you're called a degenerate.
A degen or something.
Degen, and you're not allowed to have sex. You're not allowed to have relationships. You're not allowed to really do anything. And this is kind of a Romeo and Juliet type thing where these two people, one's a
cop. He worked in security or something.
Yeah, he worked at this
but he got fired.
Yeah, cryogenic facility, but he wasn't nice to his bosses.
Yeah, so he didn't get promoted, which makes sense.
Yeah.
They're like, you would have been a class 3 if you would have done...
Because you did really good work, but you're an asshole. Oh, great. Awesome. I'm
he's
fired.
like, so you're fired.
And he meets
that the fucking truth?
A state-sanctioned prostitute and stripper type person, and they kind of fall in love, and it's a relationship of getting recruited by the a big secret guy to do these heists.
Crimes. Yeah.
And the whole goal is to get moved to Ferdin?
Yeah, Ferdin, something like that.
Ferdin is like the Garden of Eden, where everybody's safe and there's no crime.
There's no caste system. Everyone can live how they want to live.
Do whatever you want to do. So that's the whole basis of the movie is that they go and do these crimes, and they're supposed to be saved by this shadow guy to get.
They were going to pay him and get him out of town, and
so that's the movie, and that is the movie. So what did you think about this movie? Before we go into like the details of the movie and everything like that,
I hated it.
Did you?
I'll tell you why I hated it. I did not like how it just kind of felt like real life. A little bit. I mean, like, to an extent, like, you're like, hey, let's make life more ridiculous. A little bit. So it takes place in the distant future. Probably 2023, 2020, something weird. But I hated it because they're like, they make everything a business. So they're like, So when they were talking about, like, David Carradine was like, hey, I want you to commit crimes for me.
Yeah, this is the shadow guy that hires the two people.
He's like, you guys got potential, Moxie.
And Helen are the two main characters.
They hook up, which is not allowed,
At all.
But they live in slums.
Yeah.
Like, and he was part of a gang called the Fuck Boys.
The Fuck Ups?
The Fuck Ups, thank you. I'm sorry. The Fuck Ups.
Fuck Boys is a modern thing.
Yeah,
so.
but it was like, hey, we're the Fuck Ups, and they were proud of it. And the whole thing is like...
There was no crime allowed in this area. They all said, like, there's no crime in this area.
But all they did was talk about committing crimes and
everybody
horrible things.
Committed crimes around them. Like, everybody was fucking terrible people around them.
But okay, so big spoiler alert. At some point, David Carradine was like, hey, no crime actually existed. We got too good at policing, and so we had to invent crime. And I'm sitting there like, that would be cool if there wasn't crime everywhere. And, like, you were, like, in this crime zone, and, like, yeah, you got them to do, like, bank robberies and shit like that. That's cool. But the guy was talking about, like, petty theft, assaulting random people.
Yeah.
It, like, and he was very weird. The main guy of the Fuck Ups.
The Cronin, right?
Yeah, it was something like Cronin. And he did some very, like, weird shit.
Yeah, but...
And he bullied people. He
the
bullied
whole thing
a kid.
is he talks to Bone, which is the main character, about, like, sharing his girlfriend, because that's what we used to do. Like, if it's yours, it's mine, because we're family.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day when you used to do that, Bone?
Yeah, it like
Bone's also he's part of this fucking group that does crime in an area that doesn't do crime. Which, look, the movie's flawed. Like, it's 100% flawed
because they live in a very, like, it looks grimy, it looks
the whole
terrible.
thing is, it's one of those worlds that you watch and you go, everybody there should be carrying guns because everybody's trying to fuck everybody. Like, you know that for a fact.
Like, yeah, trying to, like, do some kind of crime to somebody.
Always. So there's no way there's no crime, mostly because the cops apparently don't have anything better to do to try to catch people that are boning in their fucking houses.
Well, yeah, and the line, "Show me your dick."
That is in the movie.
And she busts in and be like, "Hey,
show me your dick.
Show me your dick."
And I guess she was just trying to see if he was, like, ready to perform. But what else would I be doing? Maybe I was ready to perform with myself. Is that not allowed also?
Maybe. All of it super weird.
It's super weird.
It's
Look,
super
this
flawed.
is a Roger Corman movie, and we talked about this before we started recording. Roger Corman had a tendency to think of an idea for a movie and just fucking run with it.
And you know that Chris has talked about Roger Corman before.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And they're all like, see, the thing is, the bones were there. See, the bones were for this. Were there in this movie, but it just wasn't fleshed out in a way that made sense.
Look, it's definitely a low budget, normal Roger Corman where he thinks of an idea. It's like, how quickly can I get it to theaters, or later it would have been VHS, and go to a movie theater or a rental place or something like that. And how quickly and cheaply can I do this? The thing about it now was a little bit more budget, and he also had a really big rule about making movies 90 minutes. Like, that was like his goal. Like, make it 90 minutes. And this movie suffers because of the 90-minute. And it might have not have, because the first hour of the movie, 60 minutes of the movie, it's okay.
It's fine.
It goes through the normal progress of a story and stuff like that. And then when they realized they only had 30 minutes left, they cut out full fucking scenes to run to the end. Because, and you could tell, something happens, there's no transition for them to move to the next scene. They're just in the next scene.
Yeah, they were like in a heist.
Yeah,
mid-heist.
Yeah, I was like, we're here now because we talked about it in the last scene. It doesn't matter how we got here. It doesn't matter.
Now I'm dropping down a rope.
Yeah, now I'm escaping. Oh, now we're in a totally different scene, talking to random people that we met at the beginning of the movie. It's like his mentor.
Yeah. The guy that was in the military that, he's in the military, so he can fly a helicopter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full circle. Let's do that. And that's kind of where the movie suffers. That being said, I like the movie. It's a normal 80s.
It's the most 80s fucking movie I've ever seen.
80s.
The music, everything about it, like every sound you heard, like, that's 80s. That's 80s.
Even the acting is like...
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was like if Terminator was acted poorly. Like I'm talking the original Terminator,
the original one.
because like the guy even looked. I thought it was Michael Biehn for a while.
Looks like Reese from the
yeah. Like I was like, is that Biehn?
Yeah. No, it's not.
Am I saying his name wrong? Is it Michael Biehn or Michael Biehn?
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
But you guys know what I'm talking about. Fucking Kyle Reese from
Kyle
original
Reese.
Terminator. He's also Mandalorian, so that's
is.
really cool. But the whole time you're like, that dude looks just like him, and I feel like he was casted because of that. And like that guy is
This came out in, what did I say? 88? When did Terminator come out?
84.
Okay, yeah. So quite a few years before that.
It had neon lights. It had like they
Oh,
modeled
no. They were definitely trying to do like a...
dystopian future, like
I know
what
you
the 80s thought the future was going to look like.
Blade Runner type atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
like every once in a while, without the budget of Blade Runner. You
Right.
know?
They didn't do the white, sweet Blade Runner. Is my feelings on that. But
It's an amazing movie, yeah.
the when they did wide shots of what the city looked like, you're like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
a dystopian
Yeah.
future thing for sure. The graphics were amazing for that, and this movie tried that. That is like this movie was like the Cybertruck. It's like the thing. It just looked like what you would imagine the 80s to be.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the Jetsons.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
And there are so many scenes that I was just like, okay, this is okay. And then they're like, when they're jumping off the roof, I'm like, this seems super high that and he just fucking lands like on his legs. I'm like, bro, what?
No. It really is the last 30 minutes of the movie, the last 20 minutes of the movie. The whole movie loses itself.
It was rushed. And one of the biggest
And
things...
you're talking about the last scene in the movie when they're jumping off the building.
Trying to escape before they get to the helicopter.
Movie, when they're trying to rush everything, that scene of them trying to jump off the movie lasts fucking 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was a while. She just jumped.
Like, he jumps, he thinks about jumping off the building, and then he jumps, and then he sits there and yells at her to jump off the building, and then... After, no lie, it's probably 2 minutes of her, like, oh, am I
back
gonna
and
go?
forth.
And she jumps, and then the bad guys, or the good guys, from point of view, have to run up to that same point, and then they jump off the building. That's a good 5 minutes of the movie that didn't need to be in the movie, a movie that was already being rushed.
Yeah, it was weird. And then the thing I have the biggest problem with is when they shot people, they had sparks shoot out of them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
The blood was just super weird.
Sparky.
There's like, you would see these, they would shoot them, and then sparks would shoot out of them, and then you'd see like the smallest amount of blood.
Was that all like cops get on? That might have been bulletproof vest.
No, because the biggest time you saw it is when they shot the guy when they made it to the safety zone, and David Carradine was there with the other cop. And she shot the helicopter pilot, and he just shot out with sparks.
And so they leave on a helicopter, talking about the safety zone and everything like that, to get to Ferdine or whatever the fuck.
Which is a salvage yard of old military vessels.
So it's fake. There is no outside zone. The only thing that exists is the crime zone, which is not the name of it, but it's the name of and the plague zone. And the plague zone is basically the radioactive material that's coming off of where the war was, and infecting everybody and fucking everybody up. And this super utopia future land doesn't exist.
Well, and also District 1, so there's rich people.
Yeah.
They were fine.
Yeah, they were fine.
So
yeah, the whole goal to get out of the city, to go to somewhere else. But if there was a city that had no crime, why would you be getting out of it? Other than you just couldn't fuck who you wanted to fuck.
They didn't explain it. They did this rush explanation because we were too good at policing, so we got rid of all crime. And what can you do to inflate our budget? Which bothered me because that was the part I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, so that is the whole plot of the whole entire movie is
we got too good at policing.
There's no crime in this crime zone.
So we invented crime.
We invented crime. We hire convicts and thugs to go rob people and us. He's also doing this for other plots to have material over the government so he can't get killed too.
Right.
Just as another convoluted part of the fucking movie.
And the thing is, this guy did crime before that.
Yeah.
There's no crime. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did crime.
Yeah, all the fucking time, I'm pretty sure. So
there's this girl is also like
a prostitute.
A prostitute that is
a state sanctioned prostitute.
Yeah, but she didn't have it easy. She
No.
talked about that.
Yeah, it sucked. Yeah, it wasn't a good job. Imagine that.
Yeah. So yeah, it was weird.
Look, I like the movie because it feels 80s as fuck, and my, love for bad fucking movies. This is a bad movie. This is not a good movie. It's also a Roger Corman movie, and I kind of just have an affinity for Roger Corman movies. They're bad.
As soon as I saw the name, I was like, no wonder Chris picked this. And apparently, he didn't even know that.
I didn't know it was a Roger Corman movie. Roger Corman died a couple months ago now, and I picked this movie kind of off the blue. And when I sent it to Critter, and he sent me his movie. So I didn't know it was a Roger Corman movie. But the whole thing is, if you pick a bad 80s movie, there's a really good chance it's a Roger Corman movie. So
well, but this movie had that thing about what 80s movies had, was what the cover art was like, ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah, it looks good.
Because it looked like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, it does. It does, 100%.
It looked like Judge Dredd, and Crime Zone was written out what they thought the future would be, which was digital clock-looking shit. And you're like, oh, fuck yeah. Like, that is.
And I literally picked this movie because of that artwork.
Yeah.
I picked it. I was like, oh,
I fell for that with Video Dead.
Yeah, that's
was bad.
A little bit worse movie. But I have a list of movies that I go through, and I mostly randomly pick something, or I just get in the mood where I'm just like, this is kind of the movie I want. But more importantly, I picked Crime Zone, and you instantly Fortress.
Well, yeah.
Let's move into your movie. So
when I saw that you picked Crime Zone, I had nothing lined up. And like no thought process, and he's like, oh, this is my movie. I'm like, fine, if you're picking that, I'm picking this. And I picked Fortress, and it could not have been a more perfect compliment to his movie, because his was the ultimate 80s movie about like dystopian future thing that kind of bothers you, like, is that actually happening now? Some scenarios in that's very depressing. To mine, which is the most 90s fucking movie, came out in 1992, and it took place in the near future of 2017. I just felt that this was the movie that would complement, just based on his name, I would pick this movie.
30 stories below ground, halfway to hell, and no way out.
What'd they give you? 31 years.
You are about to enter the Fortress, a privately owned maximum security prison operated by the Mentel Corporation.
John Brunick, the most decorated captain in the history of the Black Beret.
Prisoner 95763, step forward to be intestinated.
You have nothing. You are nothing.
We will monitor your behavior.
I don't think you realize your predicament. You have nowhere to hide.
We will control your thoughts.
The law is clear. We must maintain the population balance.
We will invade your dreams.
This is an unauthorized thought process. So touchy.
Disobedience will not be tolerated.
It's been in there for 3 days, and no one has ever lasted 4.
You will be enhanced and reprogrammed to be a more efficient human being.
When my kind are in the majority, there will be no more overpopulation.
A high-tech prison.
Who started the incident?
Built to withstand anything.
Let's find out.
Except an innocent man.
We go tomorrow morning.
Activate the strike clone.
Christopher Lambert. Fortress, where the punishment is the ultimate crime.
Going out won't be fun.
No, but it's gonna be a trip.
We talked about it in the beginning of the podcast. This is a movie that I've probably seen and don't remember. I've seen this movie a couple hundred times, probably, like just watching HBO or Showtime or whatever. And I don't remember a goddamn thing.
I remembered everything.
I remember scenes from the movie.
I remembered everything. When I watched this movie, I'm like, this is gonna happen. I remember, I watched this movie, came on, like,
nothing was a surprise.
Nothing was a surprise. Like, let me tell you about how into action movies I was as a kid.
I was really into action movies, but I feel that you watched a lot more action movies than I did.
That's all I did.
Yeah.
That's all I did. All I did was watch movies, like, as a kid.
Yeah.
And, like, in action movies, just whatever I can consume. You know, just like, as soon as my dad, like, one of the first ones I watched was Predator. And since then, like, I was just chasing that high of watching action movies. And this, by the way, and I know that we just got off on shitting on yours a little bit. This was decent.
This is not bad. This had look. I like Crime Zone. I do. It
was fine.
It's fine.
Oh, we didn't give it a rating. What would you give it a rating?
5.6.
4.2.
Okay, yeah. That both of those are fair. Yeah, both of those are fair. This is going to get higher.
Yes. So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fortress is essentially a very similar movie in the sense that it takes place
very fucking close
in a dystopian future where they control childbirth.
Yeah.
So basically, you can have one child as a couple, and that's it.
That's it.
And
no, it's wrong. You can only get pregnant once.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. You can only because like the main character, Christopher Lambert,
Raiden,
Mortal Kombat. Yeah,
Highlander, obviously. But...
Obviously, Highlander for the people that are
normal.
Yeah. But him and his wife got pregnant again after a miscarriage, and they were trying to flee to Canada to have the baby. But before they got out, they got shown up that she was wearing a vest that hid...
They got caught.
Yeah, that hid an ultrasound, and they got put in a death prison. Like, life in prison, underground, high-tech facility. And it was... When you look at this, you're like, oh, that's... The 90s... Like, Crime Zone is what the 80s thought the future was. This is what the 90s thought future was.
It's what Black Mirror has been telling us is going to fucking happen.
It was controlled by robots and had, like, lasers everywhere.
No, even more controlled by robots. Kurtwood Smith is the warden of it. And if you don't know who Kurtwood Smith is...
He's Clarence Boddicker from RoboCop, Red Foreman on that 70s show. He is amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome in this movie. So
he is made... Clarence Boddicker, I would say, is maybe one of the best villains of all time. I'm going to go ahead and say it just for the fact that he looks like a dork, but fuck with him. See what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually, he's got a really good cast in it.
It does. It has Christopher Lambert.
Jeffrey Combs is in this movie we've talked about earlier.
Kurtwood Smith. Honestly.
Tom Towells.
If you look at people in here, you're like, I know them from something.
That guy, yeah.
And they may not be famous, but they're
character actors.
They are always in shit. And there's like this younger guy that plays a younger convict named Clifton. Nino Gomez.
Yeah.
And he's played by Clifton Collins Jr.
He's in fucking everything.
He's been a young person up until Boondock Saints 2.
Yeah.
And he's still playing young.
That dude was a young person in Pacific Rim. He was one of the pilots.
Was he?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the dude's played a young person. That movie came out, 5-10 years ago now?
Yeah.
Anyway, back with the plot of the movie.
They get sent to this high-tech prison that is controlled by robots that roam the ceiling and like... They have these little implants.
Belly things. What did they call them?
Intestinals.
Intestinals, yeah.
Intestinate. They're like when they punish them, intestinate them.
They hurt you or they blow up.
Yeah, so if you get out of line, if you stay in the yellow zone, you'll feel pain. You go into red, you die. Yeah. And it'll blow you up. And boy, did they show it.
Yeah, and
this was violent.
Yeah,
this was violent.
So good practical effects of just so the things in their stomach will sometimes explode. It happens a couple times, or somebody gets shot in the stomach. It's always the stomach for some reason.
Well, they target it.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
It's really good. It doesn't look real, but it looks awesome.
It's real enough where it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what you expect from like a big time horror like bloodfest.
It's what you would expect from a early 90s sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
Like this is right up in line with that kind of stuff. So
it's an overcrowded prison.
So there's like 5 of them sleeping in this little bitty room.
And some of them are like guys that the inmates run the prison.
Yeah.
Because the robots keep the other inmates in check.
Yeah, so if there's fighting, the robot comes in, blah 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 blah. It's like probably like normal prison. But yeah, that's the whole entire thing. And then that 70s dad is the warden of the prison, which ends up being the Christopher Lambert's wife. He falls in love with Christopher Lambert's wife.
Who's pregnant, and he wants to it's going to be our baby.
But the most fucked up thing is he falls in love with her because at the same time, while the prisoners are sleeping, the robots can read their dreams. And
he's basically just jerking off to him.
Kurtwood Smith falls in love with Christopher Lambert's wife through a dream and literally fucks up everybody's life because he fell in love with her through a dream. And she's pretty, not that hot.
I mean, when you're in prison, he's never left that place.
That's true. That's not actually true. And that's a little bit going into the movie a little bit. He's not really a human. He's like some kind of weird cyborg.
He was what happens with extra babies. They turn them into cyborgs. But so they develop a great escape plan. And when you watch this movie, you're like, this kind of seems like something Arnold or Sylvester Stallone to do. Surprise! This was supposed to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
So this was a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. 100%. It was written for Arnold. It was like they never envisioned anybody else in the role other than Arnold. And when Arnold
would be a good Arnold
this
movie.
would have been an awesome Arnold movie. This would have been a iconic Arnold movie because the movie would have been different, by the way. I mean, obviously. The budget when Arnold was attached to it was like $70 million or something like that. And I would imagine like 30 of that was going to Arnold, like just to pay Arnold. And then for some reason, Arnold either didn't take it or moved on from the project or whatever. And Christopher Lambert got in. The budget got slashed all the way to $12 million.
But still, that was still pretty high for back in the day.
It was, yeah.
And if you watch this movie,
and Christopher Lambert, it was popular at this time.
Yeah, and he's not a bad actor.
He's not. Apparently he's blind as a fucking bat or some shit.
Well, he's
like
got
that.
them like weird wonky eyes when he looks.
Well, it's weird. Have you ever seen a Christopher Lambert movie where I always just thought it was an acting style, and I never realized it until I was researching for this movie. I just thought he didn't like looking at people, or he just like one of his eyes would kind of look off in a weird direction. Apparently, he can't see without his glasses, and he has something wrong with his eyes that he can't have contacts. So literally, he shoots everything totally blind. He has no idea where anything is around him. He doesn't know who he's acting off of. And he stupidly, for some strange reason, does most of his own stunts. So if you can't see and then you do your own stunts, you end up getting hurt a lot. Christopher Lambert apparently has been hurt tons of fucking times on his movie set. Getting hit with swords, walking into fire, walking into walls, walking into doors. That's Christopher Lambert, apparently.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Great.
Him.
Where's he at now? He's like the one actor that, to us, I think he's super fucking famous. Christopher Lambert.
Yeah. Well, whatever.
Highlander is probably the most iconic thing, But I think if you just say Christopher Lambert to your normal fucking person, they'd be like, who the fuck's that?
No one knows.
Nobody knows that is. Why? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Other than he just maybe stop acting. I don't know if he still acts in movies or not.
Well, he's not Clarence Brown.
Yeah, he's not Clarence Brown.
Who is still relevant.
A voice actor and actor, yeah.
Yeah,
Clarence Brown's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
so, yeah. I like Christopher Lambert too now.
I do too, but Clarence Brown has that range to like he was in like a sitcom.
Yeah. Pet Sematary, and
he's just kind of a guy that can just do things.
Yeah,
whatever. But the point is,
anyway, yeah,
the movie is so violent and it's filled like there is a decent amount of gore.
Yeah.
And then there's robot gore.
Yeah.
And you didn't think robot gore would be something, and then you see it and you're like, that's a lot of gore. It's blue blood.
There's like these clone robot guard things walking around.
It's from the babies.
Yeah, so the babies, they genetically altered them and like put robot parts into them, and they're kind of the guards of the place that actually walk around other than the robot
That's when there's a riot, they bring these guys out.
So one of their helmets get knocked off, and you see that they just like remove the jaw, tubes up his,
and they have a weird lens eye. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's really cool. So
yeah, I really lost track because there's so much goes on with this movie. So I do apologize.
Look. The basic storyline is these guys are all in a cell.
They're trying to break out.
They figure out a way to break out and save Christopher Lambert's wife, and while killing Kurtwood Smith. That's the story, and then they escape, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that happens after the movie. That's the basic.
And there's
story.
an AI that runs the whole prison.
Yeah, so that's the movie. Look, this movie I haven't seen probably since fucking 97. I'm guessing here, about 97, 98.
Okay.
So that's the last time I probably seen this movie.
That's probably pretty close to me too. But I've watched this movie so many times. Nothing. I was like, yep.
Certain scenes would stick out in my head, like whenever they were fighting on the bridge that draws out was Jaws.
Oh, when they had Bennett.
Yeah.
When let off some steam, Bennett, from Commando?
Yes.
Was the big bad prison guy?
So that was like the scene that when it was happening, I was like, oh, I remember this. I remember this movie because of this scene. And then whenever Kurtwood Smith was hooked up all to the like the feeding tubes and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I remember that because this is weird how hairy he was.
Oh.
Like he had a sweater of hair, and I remember that being, I don't know why that stuck out my head when I was a kid, but I remembered as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh fuck, I remember it because of how hairy he was.
I remember that little like spinning thing they put him in.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
To erase their mind.
Yeah,
they put him in a little.
Remember the weird
in the 90s,
the zero gravity thing that it was like 3 rings, and they would sit there and spin you around, and it would be like zero gravity. It would always be at like the fair or like weird arcades. Or the mall, yeah, like the weird like intersections of the mall. So they put him in that, and that's your mind erasing device.
Yeah.
Normally people survive for like a couple hours in it at the most. He survived for like 3 days, and then when he came out of it, he went 6 months in the movie.
They called him a ghost, and they would just take care of him. But he was still the big bad in prison.
Yeah.
Everyone respected him, even though he was brain dead.
Yes. 6 months of the movie, and this is only like 6 minutes of the movie, maybe.
Oh yeah, it happened quick.
It was
because
really
like,
quick.
and it was weird because you saw his hair as like clipped up, like nice and tight, and then he had long hair.
Yeah. So they shaved him, and his wife somehow figures out a way to infiltrate
the
his
dreams,
and get him out of the look, it doesn't make any sense. It really fucking matters. As an action movie and just a 90s sci-fi movie, it's so fucking
it is really
so good, man. It really is. It's the things that like nowadays,
I think it holds up.
It does hold up, and I think that even if things like this get made nowadays, it so falls underneath the radar because there's so much movies that happen nowadays that you just wouldn't pay attention to a movie that came out like that.
Everybody
nowadays.
Acted well. Every supporting actor acted well.
Like, there's so good actors in it. Jeffrey Combs is in it, and he's like this tech weird guy in the movie.
Oh, the Reanimator.
Yeah, the Reanimator. And that's because the guy that did Reanimator
Stuart Gordon.
This movie. Yeah, Stuart Gordon did this movie.
And Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, for some strange fucking
and
reason.
Robot Jocks is a favorite of ours.
Nobody knows what that fuck is.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah, this director did a lot of shit. Why he decided to do Crime Zone? Because Robert Corman talked him into this shit. Guaranteed. 100%. And then this guy, Stewart, just took his normal actors because Jeffrey Combs, other actors, are in all of his movies.
Sure, and that's how we almost got Arnold, because it was Arnold's body double.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. That's 100% true.
Hey, look, the movie is really kind of good.
It's not bad.
When I rewatched it, I was like, I know why I liked it. And it wasn't at the time. I was like, this is a movie I feel like would hold up to this day. And again, it kind of holds up to what's and I hated it. I should say I hated it as well, because it was too much like what was happening now, of just random bullshit happening in the government. You're like, oh, fuck.
No. Both these movies, we should just title this episode is like, is this the future? Question mark.
Yeah, dystopian?
But I watched Crime Zone, and then I watched Fortress, and I'm like, pick movies that take place in the exact same fucking universe. Because if you just gave these two movies to people and it's like, hey, these movies are connected, watch these movies. Don't give them the title of the movies or anything like that. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's the sequel to this movie, right?
Yeah, I just love how you were like, this is my movie, and I was just like, hell yeah, then this is my movie.
But literally, whenever I gave him the movie, it's usually over text message or a Facebook message or something like that. I sent him the movie, and then 5 seconds later, he sent me, okay, well, you're picking this, I'm picking this.
And I had nothing planned, and it was just because I saw that, I was like, well, this seems very Fortress-y to me.
Look, like I said, I like this movie probably way better than Crime Zone. Crime Zone I like, but this is way better. It's more watchable movie.
This is a movie I would probably watch again and recommend to anybody that likes
Fortress. I will watch
action movies,
yeah,
and specifically 90s action movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
because
Fortress I will definitely watch.
When you rewatch, there's almost no CG that looks bad. because it's all practical.
So yeah,
and the CG that's in there, just like, oh yeah, that looks fine.
Speaking of it, yeah, there's like these like scenes of where they steal this crystal to like hold up to a laser, and that kind of does like a Fortress of Solitude 3D graphic thing for some strange fucking reason.
But for some reason, it showed different colors, which was a little bullshit.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't have happened like that, but okay.
But it doesn't matter. But it didn't look bad, you know. Like they're like giving a map of the fortress as he's holding it. The map's kind of moving around and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that looks not that bad for how I know they did that in the 90s, you know.
And then everything else was practical.
Yeah.
So it was a movie that if you watched it, you would be like, that looks pretty good.
Yeah. It doesn't end. It ends happy.
It was a rushed ending.
It's a rush ending. The Christopher Lambert and his wife and his
kid. They finally break out. Everybody, like him, the kid, and his wife escape, but she's in the midst of giving birth during this. So they pull over to a farmhouse in Mexico.
Yeah.
Once they get past the border, and she's about to give birth, but then the AI takes over control of the truck that they stole. And then ran through the barn, and he's like, "Oh no!" It killed his young friend, and then he thought he killed his wife.
Yeah, but she was fine.
She was fine, and
had a baby at the same time while she was getting thrown. In
also,
the air
more
by
power to her for pushing out a baby.
Yeah,
and then run into a tractor for safety, and the baby, no blood, no placenta, no nothing.
I've been in the room with 3 kids being born.
Ain't that clean?
It's not there though. It's scary. It's way scarier than getting hit by a bus thing. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. But look, they made a sequel to this.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I did not realize
Christopher
that.
Lambert's in the sequel, playing the same character. The wife in the original movies. I don't know. You ever watched Twin Peaks?
The show?
Yeah. She's in Twin Peaks.
Okay.
So I don't know her. I've watched a couple of Twin Peaks, so I know that's the only thing she's really famous for. She's not famous from Fortress.
She should be.
What do you give it a ranking?
I would actually give this maybe a 6.8.
Oh man, I was going higher. I think I was going 7.2.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It's
6.8 is like something that I like, and I would watch again. Yeah, and I would even recommend people with similar interests
watch.
But like someone's like, oh, a movie I should watch. You should like that's how you get higher. It's like you should absolutely watch this movie. You got to be in a certain genre to really.
This is a good, and it actually really is. This is a good group. If the group hasn't seen.
Yeah, but they got to have the same similar interests.
Yeah, like hey, we're having a couple of beers. Just watch a crazy sci-fi movie. Watch this.
90 sci-fi.
90 sci-fi, which is very key. So I'm cool with that. Yeah,
okay,
that's good. We're right around 7.
All right, sounds good to me.
So if you got any movies that you would like us to watch on the double features, we will never run out of movies, but it'd be cool to watch.
I would love to have someone
give us some movies. So
I'm wondering, now hear me out, if we do a double feature and then a challenge from a viewer or like a listener to challenge us to watch a movie and see what we think.
Like a really bad movie?
Like
it's a challenge.
Bring back the Meet the Feebles challenge. It's not necessarily you have to punish us, but just recommend a movie that you'd be like, oh, these guys might like that, and we can do a quick one.
Yeah, let's do that. Send us some movies. Send us a movie that you challenge us to watch.
It's got to be a deep cut.
Yeah, give us a deep cut, because me and Critter watched a lot of fucking movies.
I mean, it can be in our wheelhouse, but I mean, like, just a
normal... Give us something out of wheelhouse. I'm cool with that right now.
Okay.
I've been really into Japanese, and French movies for some strange fucking reason.
I've been in French horror.
Yeah, it's really weird. The French horror is just
not
depraved. Good. Yeah, it's not good.
It's depraved as shit, man. What's wrong with French people?
Anyway, go follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can send all the messages or movies or anything like that. Any kind of discussions you would like to have about the movies or any of our other podcasts. Twitter's probably the easiest way to get in touch with either one of us. Yeah,
SoundCloud's great too.
Yeah, SoundCloud it goes directly onto the app. Our website is also an easy way to do. You just write the comments right underneath the episode. Go follow us everywhere. Just give us reviews. Do all that stuff. We'll be back in, I don't know. We might take off the rest of the summer. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for continuing to listen to our podcast. Listen to nerds just nerd out about the shit that doesn't matter.
Tell your friends so they can. I mean, nerds love nerd shit. So
yeah, we have been your hosts. I am Starf Chris.
I'm Critter.
And good journey, nerds.
Good journey, nerds.